Greetings, Patrick here, Have Cheetah Will View, and welcome to Dollar Theater, an ongoing series started by our good friend Josh Hobbs of the Midnight Hour, in which we watch and review films that we've gotten for $1.25 or less. That's right, we are not boutique ballas here. So last week, we watched and reviewed Meet John Doe, which starred Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck, and today we'll be talking about 1936's Man Godfrey, starring William Powell and Carole Lombard. So, wow. So this is a classic film. This is one of the, in some places, this is like a top 100 film in history. Time magazine, various critics. It is just a magnificent film, has a lot to say. So let's get into it a little bit. So basically, what it is William Powell plays Godfrey, and he is living in the Depression era. He is living in basically a dump. A trash dump. Him and a bunch of men are living there. They're known as Forgotten Men. And what they do is they live in the junkyard, and then during the day they harvest. They harvest stuff to recycle, to sell, however it means to survive. They don't have jobs. There's no jobs to be had. So one night, as he's sitting there, there's a party of three, obviously well-to-do society types. They come down and offer him $5, Godfrey $5, if he'll go back with them to, part of their scavenger hunt. And if they bring him in, they could win a prize. Now, there's two girls that are sisters, Irene and Cornelia. And Cornelia is rather sassy, rather lippy. And Irene, she's not really enthused as much as her sister is. So initially, once Godfrey finds out what the $5 is for, he declines. He says, no, thank you. He's got dignity. And then he starts talking to Irene, and Irene sees that he is a man of dignity. And there's just something right off the bat. You just feel like there's more to uncover to Godfrey than just someone working in a trash dump. Well, anyway, him and Irene talk, and then he agrees to go with her for the $5. He gets the $5 to go with her to the scavenger hunt hotel, and so they can win. And that's what happens. She goes over there and she wins. She wins this really nice silver cup. And and then they want him to say a few words, and he says, I have nothing to say, basically. I don't want to be around this pack of jackals. So he starts to leave. He sees the silver cup that Irene won, and then he starts walking away. And Irene doesn't want him to go, and offers him a job. Says, I want you to become our butler. And so, the Bullocks are a well-to-do family. They have a butler and they have a maid. But for some reason, they can't keep a butler. As the maid tells Godfrey when he shows up for work, he says, well, you might also just put your hat and your valet there, because you'll probably be leaving within a day or two. And it looks like it right off the bat that, yeah, maybe that's true, because, the Bullock family is all over the place. They cause a lot of ruckus. The two sisters cause a lot of ruckus. Causes their dad to distress out. The wife has what they call a protege, and he is supposedly this pianist that's supposed to be going to be putting on a recital. And so we see him, we meet him, Carlo, and basically the house is just a taffy pull. There's all sorts of things going on. But Irene has pretty quickly latched on to Godfrey and has feelings for him. Real feelings. And but he doesn't return the favor, and that includes when she kisses him in his room, and he has to tell her there's boundaries, which was really quite refreshing to hear in the 1936, right? He says there's boundaries. You can't be doing this. I don't want this, and you can't be doing this. It'll affect my job. So, of course, Irene's hurt. And so Cornelia makes a she decides she's being rather mean to him because he had, when they first met, he had pushed her ass in a pile of ash because for her $5 for the dog and pony show. So they don't really necessarily get along. And then when they're holding this big party, and all of a sudden we hear a voice call out to Godfrey, and turns out it's his good friend Tommy. And Tommy's like, he sees his friend as a butler, and he's like, what? And then of course we hear the story that they both went to Harvard. And but Godfrey was Tommy's valet. He wasn't he was a valet, and because Godfrey doesn't want anybody to know his past, and he tells Tommy, says, keep that on the down low. And Tommy goes into it, leans into it, and he helps his friend out, spinning a tall tale of a wife and 5 kids. So of course, Irene hears this, and she's really upset. So she grabs the first guy she sees and announces her engagement. But the next day, we see Godfrey and Tommy at a bar, and they're talking, and then Cornelia sees them, tries to get Tommy out of there so she can go over there and make a run at Godfrey. She knows her sister likes her, but she's gonna she prides herself on getting any man that she wants, and she wants Godfrey. But Godfrey just basically says, when she asks, well, what do you think about me? Godfrey tells her on no uncertain terms what he thinks that she is. Of course, that causes her to become rather bitter and spiteful and looking for revenge. So of course, the father is, but we see other facets of the family too. We notice that Godfrey is very courteous to the wife and gives her compliments, like mistaking her for Cornelia, and in the room. And we find out that basically the wife has been neglected. The husband has had so much on his plate that he's actually neglected his wife. He doesn't spend any time with her. He doesn't talk to her. And so, when she gets a compliment like that, it's like nirvana. And of course, we find out the reason why the husband's not so talkative is because his family is were very well-to-do, but now they're not so well-to-do. They seem to be having a lot of financial problems. And Godfrey comes over, and he just, giving the breakfast to the dad, and he says, can I offer you some advice? Father says, I doubt that I could get anything from you, a butler. We just found you on the trash heap, and now you're inside the house. But he doesn't say it like that. He's like, no, I don't need your help. But then as Godfrey starts to walk away, he goes, who are you? I mean, now he's curious. Now the dad is curious. Mr. Bullock's curious, like, okay, there's more than going on here. And we've seen that throughout the whole movie, how Godfrey has been, even when, he's been very courteous, very much so. But after Cornelia walks away, Godfrey decides to, with his friend Tommy, he has a couple of extra, he was drinking lemonade, but after Cornelia, he switches over. So when he comes back to the house, he's not feeling any pain. He manages to serve everybody, but then he drops the tray in the kitchen. And then Cornelia takes the advantage of that, and she goes inside his room and plants some pearls, pearls in his room. She wants revenge, so she comes down there, and she happens to mention that, hey, my pearls are missing, and this and that, and they call the cops, and the cops come down there to go look and find out, and they find Godfrey is passed out on his bed. He's snoring away because he's tanked, or he passed out. Well, they get him up and they start, the cops already know it's going to be an inside job. But they don't know exactly how it's an inside job, but they go ahead and they search the Godfrey's room. They can't find anything at all. But then Cornelia says, well, what about underneath the mattress? And the cops are instantly on that. They're no fools. They're going like, well, why would you suggest that? What do you know about that? And, she sort of got herself in her corner. But when they go ahead and lift the mattress up, lo and behold, the pearls aren't there. They're gone. And the dad knows. Mr. Bullock knows what his daughter's done. And he basically says, comes out and says, I know what you've done, but the joke's on you because those pearls weren't insured. I mean, if you can't get them back, you've lost them because there won't be any replacements because they weren't insured. So the girls decide after Irene's latest breakup, because she can't make any headway with Godfrey, her new engagement that she was going to go on, it breaks up. So the girls go to Europe for a little while and then they come back. They come back like 3 or 4 months later and pick up where everything's left off. And Godfrey's doing a great job as a butler and he's enjoying it. I mean, he seems to be enjoying it. The sisters are back, and Irene we still see that she still has her heart set on Godfrey, and Cornelia is still, she basically says, hey, we still have unfinished business, you and I, and about the pearls, and, it's like, and of course Godfrey's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. As this is going on, Godfrey takes his friend Tommy, takes him down to the dump area where he lived at, and he introduces himself, some of the friends that he made, and they know Godfrey as Duke. That's his name down there, so they know him all as Duke. They don't know that Godfrey has come from a well-to-do family himself, which is why he's so well-mannered and so cultured. And he did indeed go to Harvard, and he did indeed graduate. And his family is very, very well to do. But what had happened, what had led him to this, is a relationship. It broke up, and it broke his heart, and that's the reason why he's off-puttish about being around any other woman, because the last one pushed him to the edge. So Tommy understands. He understands, but he says, I got something to throw your way, Tommy. I got an idea. And so Tommy says, well, do tell. And so we see those two talking as the camera fades off. So the last act comes into play. Irene is really after, he's really, she's helping him wipe dishes, and she's really talking to him, and finds out that Tommy's story about him being married with 5 kids was a fabrication. Now, of course, once he says that to her, that just opens opens the gates wide open, because now she's like, oh, I could still chase after Godfrey, and so that's what she tries to do, and he's like having none of it, but then she pretends to faint, especially after he says that he's getting ready to leave. And so she's pulling out all the stops. And at first, he believes her, like she fainted. And but once he gets up there puts her in a room, and looking for some smelling salts, he sees her raise up from the bed and look at him, and he sees her in the mirror raising up, so he knows that she's faking it. So she says, well, I know exactly how I can help you out, Irene. Let me see if I can do this. And he puts her in the shower and turns on the water. then he starts to leave. And now we find out from the father. The father finally, he comes in, and he's up in a state. And the first thing he says is to Carlo. He says, Carlo, we need to talk for a minute. So the dad takes Carlo and he starts talking to him about, I was thinking, and then he throws his ass out. He throws him out because he's been nothing but a leech. He has no talent. There's no piano recital, and all he does is just sit around and eat. And the dad basically turns around and says, "I want everybody in here." And he said, "What about Godfrey?" And he says, "Godfrey can stay and hear this too." And it turns out that the Bullock, Mr. Bullock, is now broke. His business has hit a really bad spot, and he had to borrow money from other investors. He has no way of paying it back. So it looks like maybe he says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I could end up going to jail. So things are, suddenly go from rosy to thorny really quick. But Godfrey comes to the rescue one last time, and he says, "Here's what I did. I knew you set those pearls, So what I did is I did take those pearls, and I went down there and I sold them, and I used that money, and I went and bought some stock. I went and bought stock. All the stock that Mr. Bullock had, he had to get rid of, try to raise capital. He had to sell it for basically for a pittance because he needed the money. So Godfrey had gone down there and he had bought up all the shares, and now the company had, now it's worth the money, and now the money's back. He paid the money, and so he says, "Wow, you bought all the stock. You now control my company." And Godfrey said, "I don't want anything like that. I signed them all over to you." And it restores the family's financial fortunes. And because, they don't know it, but Godfrey doesn't need their money. He tells everybody, basically, he tells them, that there's a lot of spirit here, and the family's a really nice family. It just needed some time to see that. They've forgotten that. The sisters were fighting. The wife was neglected. The husband was stressed by business, and he basically just told him to take a deep breath and look around. Look around, because what you see is your family, and it's very precious. And him and Cornelia reconcile, and she cries when he leaves, because she realizes that he was a good man, an honorable man, and of course Irene's heartbroken because she loves him. So then we go and we see Tommy and Godfrey. What they've done is they bought a abandoned building, and two of them actually, in fact. And one they made a nightclub out of, a nightclub supper club, and the other one they're making apartments for up to 50 men. And what they've done is, where they built the club at was right across the street from the dump. And of course, now they did that. Now the city has to come down and shut that down and get rid of all that. So it's sort of, I guess you could call it gentrification. And Godfrey has hired many of his friends that were down there, knowing that they were there through other circumstances and not necessarily of their own fault. And he's hired them in various positions in the club, him and Tommy both, and that includes a high-powered banker. We find out some of the men's stories. We find out that there's a high-powered banker who gave up everything he had to make sure his customers were taken care of before this bank failed. There's just a lot of good people down there that just misfortune, and so they and Godfrey has seen that when he had gotten down to the because he was thinking about, after his heart was broken, he was thinking about ending it, but then before he could get to the river to do so, he saw all these men that were still there, still struggling against against what was happening to them. I mean, they were also had misfortune, but they were still fighting, and so it inspired him to do that. And so when he had a chance, he got together with his other rich friend Tommy, and they made apartments for 50, and they built a nightclub, doing very well. And of course, at the very end, Irene and Godfrey do get together. This is called a screwball comedy, this movie right here. There's a lot of funny lines in this movie. It sounds like I told you, it sounds like a straight drama, but it's very lighthearted. And William Powell, what can I say? I absolutely love William Powell. Big fan of his. Of course, many know him from the from the Thin Man series that he did with the lovely Myrna Loy, my favorite Golden Age, Hollywood Golden Age actress. And he did the Thin Man series, which was absolutely terrific. Carole Lombard, and actually Carole Lombard and William Powell had been married before in 1931. They divorced after 2 years. It was a good divorce. They came back and worked together on My Man Godfrey. William Powell was a little bit, he was snake bit, sadly so, because Carole Lombard was killed in a plane crash in 1942. She was raising war bonds, and she was killed in a plane crash. After, before that, before Carole Lombard had passed away, he had actually been engaged, or not engaged, but it was a partner of Jean Harlow. He had married and divorced Carole Lombard in 31, I think divorced in 33, and in 1934 he met Jean Harlow. And they were partners till her death. She died of a kidney failure. Very tragic, very tragic. And not only did that break William Powell's heart, but it also broke Clark Gable's heart, because that was the one woman that Clark Gable loved. Even though Jean Harlow was with William Powell, he still loved her from afar. And basically, people have always said that when she died, a lot of Clark Gable died too. But this movie was nominated for 6 awards at Oscars, didn't win one, which is shocking. Shocking, to tell you the truth, because it was just so good. Box office, the movie was made for about $575,000. It made about $700,000 back. You got to think of the time. That was during the Depression, so that actually was big money. $575,000. That could have bankrupted the studio, but it was a hit, and it did very, very well, and it has maintained its greatness throughout the years. When people talk about the movies from the 30s or what have you, the one movie they do talk about a lot is My Man Godfrey. This is a public domain movie, so you can watch it on YouTube. I mentioned last week about the print of the movie. Meet John Doe, the print was really, really good. My print here for this one here was not so good, so you'll have to be careful. Try to buy it off of. I got this off a public domain company, which makes this money just putting out public domain movies. But if you could get this from Universal, because Universal released My Man Godfrey, so if they put it out in a collection, I would recommend that. Or if they have like an archive, like the Warner Brothers does, I would do that. I would not just grab any collection or any multi-pack because it has it in it. I wouldn't do that, because most chances are your print will be shitty. But yeah, this is a delight. I can't say that enough. The supporting cast was also excellent as well, and Gregory LaCava, he directed the film. Alice Brady, she played Cornelia, and she was an amazing actress too, and her life story is one to be checked out as well. Yeah, she was pretty stunning. Of course, like I said, Carole Lombard was, she was terrific. Boy, she was a pretty girl. Pretty girl. All right, well, that is it for my review and of My Man Godfrey. Again, I highly recommend this movie. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I reviewed it. I was like, what to watch, and I hadn't done any black and white reviews in a little bit. And so I wanted to do this one. So we did it back to back. Next week, we're heading toward one of my favorite. Actually, what can I say? I'm pulling a movie from my favorite studio, and it's called Save the Date, and we'll be taking a look at that next week. And for now, that's it for us. So thank you for watching, and if you're new to the channel, hit the sub button. hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Here we go. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.